Have you ever walked away from a conversation and all of a sudden feelings of resentment and anger started bubbling to the surface about a third party? That's what I want to talk about here. And this is what's commonly called triangulation. In this video, what I want to do is show you a clip of something that Meghan Markle talked about that I really didn't notice until just recently. And it's like nails on a chalkboard. Once you recognize this pattern of behavior, it's just so obvious. So, we're going to talk about all of that. But before we begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Tiffany, and this is Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion, and it's not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. So, the moment I want to talk about specifically is when Meghan is discussing with the interviewer how she explained to her niece, Samantha Markle's daughter, that she would not be invited to Harry and Meghan's wedding. Now, at this point, the niece, her name is Ashley, really believes she has a close relationship with Meghan. So it's very hurtful and painful to her to not be invited to the wedding. And now think about it. Imagine you have someone that's quite a close relative and they're marrying into the British royal family. Like, how excited are you, not just for your aunt, your cousin, or whatever, but at the prospect of being part of it, right? So, this, I imagine, was incredibly heartbreaking for Ashley. Now, we also hear in this conversation that Ashley refers to her mom not as her mom, but as a biological mother. So, doesn't refer to her by name, doesn't refer to her by um, how would you call that, biological mom versus calling her mom. Um, and I don't know exactly what happened that led to the downfall of that relationship, but you can see that whatever frustration or hurt or pain or anger that Ashley felt towards her mom, this situation really bubbled all those feelings up to the surface for her, in my opinion. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the clip. I'm going to pause and talk about it as we're going through it. And there are two specific moments that I really want to zoom in on because I find them weird. Then, after we're done with the video clips, I'm going to talk about the specific language that was used and why it just doesn't sit well with me. And finally, I'm going to end this video with 3 tips on how to target triangulation when it is happening to you. So, without further ado, let's get into the very first clip. Okay, everybody, here we go.
How do we explain that this half sister isn't invited to the wedding, but that the half sister's daughter is?
So, this is the conundrum that Megan is putting forward that, and I'll go more into detail about it, but the importance is not placed on Ashley's feelings, but on how difficult it is to be explained to other people. That is more important than Ashley's well being, Ashley being invited. And you and I all know why Megan did her best to not have people at her wedding. Well, in my opinion, and I don't want to speak for all of you, even though I just did, in my opinion, there were a lot of stories that Megan spun, and she wanted to make sure that Harry and the rest of the royal family and any connections she had made in London or that would be at her wedding would be able to refute her. Let's continue.
And so with Ashley, the guidance at the time was to not have her come to our wedding.
So notice the blame is put on someone else. It wasn't Megan's choice. This is the guidance that was given to her. It's not her problem. Let's continue.
I was in the car with H and I called her and I had her on speakerphone and we talked her through what guidance we were being given and why this assessment was made. And
So I don't know why it was important for Harry to be part of that conversation. I don't know why Harry had to hear that conversation. And let's put ourselves in Ashley's position. You're being your aunt or your half aunt or whatever has the Prince of England sitting next to her. It's not going to let you speak very openly, right? That might be the reason I suspect that Meghan made sure Harry was there, partly so that Ashley wouldn't be able to really talk about how badly she felt, so Meghan would have to avoid that conversation, and I think partly so that she could, scatter the blame on other people. Let's continue.
And that's painful.
Look how hard she tries to make it seem like she is hurt by all of this. And what I did is this was one of the snippets I wanted to show you all where I don't believe that Megan feels any pain about it. So let's watch that clip and let's zoom in on Megan's face.
And that's painful. And that's painful.
What I see is a little bit of a smile at the end of that. And I'm going to give you my suspicion. And that is that Megan likes having this kind of power to influence someone's emotions in this way. And this is why I believe she is a malignant narcissist. She likes having that power of being able to inflict pain. And this is all allegedly and in my opinion. Let's continue with that video clip. And I'm going to apologize to you right now. Ashley has a lot of vocal fry. And I think it's partly because she's very emotional talking about the pain that she experienced.
I think I said I was hurt on some level, but I understood where it was coming from.
So you hear her say she was hurt on some level. So she wasn't really able to express herself, right? She wasn't able to say how painful that is. You wouldn't be hurt on some level, you would be hurt deeply, at least in my opinion.
To know that it was because of my biological mother that this relationship that's so important to me was impacted in that way.
Notice now the blame is placed on her mother. And this, I believe, is one of Megan's aims to be able to jut out from under what is actually the reason for the problem and to, in all honesty, make Megan's enemies other people's enemies. This is why this is triangulation. Let's continue.
To feel like because of her it was taken away has been hard.
Your heart breaks for her, right? This is someone who is deeply impacted by this non-invitation, that she is blaming it on her biological mother, who she must have a difficult relationship with already because she calls her biological mother and not mom. But I just want you to notice how people are used as pieces in a chess game. Even though I think it was in the Hollywood Reporter that people said that Megan thinks she can play chess, but she's actually playing checkers. But you can see people are pawns in Megan's game. She inflicts pain and she uses them to achieve her own aims. And the last clip I want to show you is just a zoom in version of Ashley's face and how you can physically see how hurt she is by all of this.
Has been hard.
So now let's get into the sentence analysis and why I think these particular words were used and how they're manipulative. Let's start with the statement. How do we explain that this half sister isn't invited to the wedding, but the half sister's daughter is? In my opinion, this is highly manipulative because it frames the audience as the problem by implying, how do we explain to all these people so it makes sense? It shifts the focus from Megan's choice to an imagined PR necessity. It uses external perception justification. How is this going to look? Rather than actual logic or values, and it sets the stage for preemptive justification, which is a key triangulation tactic. And the way she does this is that she positions the public as the third party. Instead of being accountable for the inconsistent choice, which is inviting the niece but not the sister, she frames it as a communication problem, not a relationship issue. The next thing she says is, and so with Ashley, the guidance at the time was not to not have her come to our wedding. This is also manipulative because she blames an anonymous external authority to avoid taking responsibility. By using this word guidance, we don't know who guided her, but we really know who she's implying. The word itself is vague, it's unprovable, and unchallengeable. And by saying it this way, she avoids saying, "We decided not to invite her." And again, this is another classic triangulation. She and Harry and unnamed advisors become one unit making a decision. Ashley becomes the excluded outsider, and Meghan shields herself with this unknown higher authority, distancing herself from the harm. Then she talks about how she was in the car with H and they called her and they had her on speakerphone. This is really perplexing to me because why did Harry need to be there to hear this conversation? And imagine what this does to Ashley with by being on speakerphone and Harry is present, it creates a power imbalance. It's harder for the niece to be a lot more open with her feelings. And I really think Meghan did this so that Ashley wouldn't be able to speak her mind. Then Meghan says we talked her through it. This is patronizing and it implies that Ashley wouldn't have understood it. She needed to be walked through the logic of why she wasn't invited. And finally, the most manipulative part of all. You see here Ashley blaming her mom for not being able to go to the wedding. This is exactly an example of triangulation because she's creating more conflict for there to exist between Ashley and Samantha. And if we really look from Ashley's perspective, she genuinely believes this, right? Her heart is broken. She wanted to be part of that wedding. She had been so involved with this aunt for so long. And now all of a sudden, it's the biggest day for the aunt, and she is not invited. We can literally hear the pain in Ashley's voice. You see it in her face, her facial expression. She has vocal fry because she is sad and upset. And even talking about it several years later, she's still impacted by this event. You can see it in her face. Now, what I want to do is talk through some examples that you may have experienced this in your relationships. Let's start with a romantic relationship. You have a partner who constantly mentions an ex to make you feel insecure. They flirt with someone else to get a reaction from you. They tell friends or family one version of events, then tell you another. They use phrases like, "Everyone thinks you're overreacting. My mom agrees I'm right. My coworker said you're lucky to have me." The effect it has on you is that you begin to question your judgment and feel like you're competing for their approval. In family, this could be a parent that tells different children different stories to make sure that everyone is divided. It could be your parent complaining about one sibling to another in order to build alliances. A parent can make someone a problem child and the other child the golden child, and they end up comparing themselves to each other. And ultimately, it leads you or your sibling to feel isolated within your own family and blame yourself for the conflict. Let's talk about how this could happen professionally. You could have a coworker who tells your boss that you said something you didn't say. A manager might praise one person while publicly criticizing another in order to control the team. You might be left out of key emails or conversations on purpose, or someone acts friendly to you but badmouths you to others. And it results in you feeling confused, paranoid, and unsure who you can trust. And finally, let's talk about some examples that this could occur in your friendships. One friend talks badly about another friend in order to pull you closer to them. Or someone shares private information that you told them and spins it to others. Or it could be that you are made to feel like you are the difficult one in the group. And there could be a friend that inflames conflict by relaying messages between people. You end up getting stuck in drama that you didn't create, and then you end up blamed for the outcome. I want to close this video out by giving you 3 tips for escaping triangulation. Number one, detach from the triangle. Stop engaging in the back and forth comparisons or he said, she said. Say things like, I'd rather talk directly with the person involved. I'm not comfortable being in the middle of this. This removes the manipulator's fuel. Tip number two, establish direct communication. If someone tries to pull you into drama, respond with, let's get all of us in one conversation so we can clear it up. Triangulators hate group clarity because it exposes them. And finally, rebuild your own perspective. Triangulation works by confusing you and isolating you. Break it by writing down what actually happened, checking facts instead of feelings, talking to someone you trust and not the manipulator's trusted source, and remind yourself if they need to bring a third person into this, maybe the story isn't true. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed that video. I'm curious to know what you think. Please drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd like to ask all of you that in lieu of super chats and super stickers, if you would consider donating to the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Their information is on the screen should you need to reach out to them, and a link to donate is in the description of this video. What I've also done is, because it was brought to my attention that this organization is specific to the United States, I'm going to put a couple of pictures of other domestic violence organizations and hotlines at the very end of this video. I also want to tell you about a couple of announcements on my crime channel, Revealing the Crime. Right now, we are live streaming the Brian Walsh trial, and it is a doozy. We are spending about 7 hours together every single day. I think we've made some pretty good friendships because we're all talking to each other and communicating each other pretty much all day. So I would love it if you would join us. I'm also trying to get recaps out every single day. There's a lot of really weird body weird body language tells with Brian, even though we can't even see the front of his face during the trial. Sometime this week, I'll also be releasing the Natalie Wood video that I was talking about with Royal Daily Tea Michelle in my live stream last week. And that one is about Natalie Wood, her life, her death, and all of the new things that have been happening since 1981 when she passed away. And finally, I have another collab with Michelle that will be coming on this channel. It is a movie review for the movie The Winter Palace. This movie has been my favorite one so far. Unfortunately, it was free on YouTube when I first posted about it, and that video has now been set to private and you have to purchase it to watch it. But if you have Amazon Prime, it is on Prime for free. So please go and watch that movie. It's a very much a feel good movie. So again, I want to thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for watching. If this was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you'll know every time I drop a new video. And I want to thank you so much for being here. I'll talk to you soon. Bye everybody.